Hello everybody. I'm here with another video. I look like crap, but who cares? So, uh, Today is I'm gonna talk about, in regards to detransitioning, my thoughts on that, and also just giving a few details on what you should consider before transitioning. Because, yeah, that's a thing. You better keep recording, you thing. Sometimes my computer likes to act stupid, but that's okay. Not really, but uh, anyways, focus. So, my thoughts on detransitioning. I don't really hear this a lot. I think the only YouTubers I've ever actually heard talk about this are people who tend to talk about controversial stuff anyways, and well, I might as well jump on on that. And I just and y'all, this isn't me detransitioning or anything. Trust me, I am still very much on board on like I must transition. So yeah, but yeah, I one of the things I think now, usually with SJWs and really anybody who's in the LGBT community, you really don't hear a lot about this subject. It's just kind of like quieted, I guess. Uh, However, you do hear it from Christians because, they think that's somehow ammo. Like, yes, some people do detransition. That's just a thing. Some people convert from Christianity. That doesn't mean it's, you know, uh, you know, some people convert to atheism or Muslim or something like that. That doesn't mean one of those particular things are 100% correct. And, I'm not. I'm complicated when it comes to religion, so I'll make a video about that another time. But yeah, Christians think that it's ammo, and I say Christians specifically because this is where I hear it a lot from. Not that they're the only ones, or that they all do it, because they don't. Trust me. But anybody who's against being trans usually uses it as oh, see, these people are detransitioning. That must mean that this is actually wrong. Like, oh my god. It's human, people. It's fucking human to do something you regret, even if it's something that is actually for somebody else. And a lot of my thoughts on that is like, here's my thoughts on why people detransition. Now, please take this with a grain of salt, because look, I'm still trans. I wouldn't dream of detransitioning. I'm very happy with what I have right now, and I'm pretty damn satisfied. Gosh, what do I get for doing this later in the day? But gosh. But so this is just my thoughts on why people might detransition. I don't know anybody personally who has detransitioned. I think I've seen like one or two videos from people who have detransitioned or whatever, and it's like, to me, in my personal opinion, it's perfectly fine, because if that's not your gender identity, don't force it on yourself. Just the same as go ahead and transition. Don't be forced to stay cisgendered if you're not that gender, and don't force yourself to be the opposite gender of what your original sex is actually. Whatever. Like, just be very careful about it in general. But my thoughts on why people detransition, and like I said, this is me theorizing. Okay, y'all know what I'm trying to say. I think it's potentially due to rushing into it. Shut up, computer. No one cares about what you have to say. My computer made noises and it's telling me to do things. My computer doesn't like me. It never does. But, so, in regards to that, I think a lot of it has to do with people rushing into things. Especially something you do. The most common thing you do hear about is whenever kids transition and later in life they realize that's not who they are. And I'll dive into that here pretty soon. But, so I think it is a lot of people rush way too quickly into this thing. It doesn't matter what you're doing in life, don't rush into shit. Especially something like that. Like, you should not be altering your body without serious consideration. Like, I would honestly even like even down to something as simple as like even like piercing your ears. You should still take some damn time to consider it. Maybe obviously not as long as transitioning, but that's just you wouldn't just go on a whim and go get your ears pierced in the same day, or maybe you would, but but that of course some people. I mean, oh my gosh, I'm gonna stop, but yeah, so I think that a huge problem with it is usually people rushing into it, and I think that is typically the biggest problem. And even if you, and to add to it is any additional push to be a specific gender. Honestly, if your kid is transgender, remain neutral. Even if you want to support them, just remain neutral. Don't be a dick. Don't misgender them. Like if your girl is transitioning to male, I would not recommend necessarily going full out he him, but I would recommend staying out neutral, unbiased. Don't call your child a girl or whatever. Basically, I think the best way to go about that is to just remain as neutral as possible. Let them figure out shit on their own, because not only out of respect, but also for some people that negativity might actually force them to continue to go harder in that direction just to rebel. And yes, some people do that. Don't start being like, nobody actually done that, because people do. People just do. That's human nature. That's people do stupid shit. And sometimes I do stupid shit. This is just one of those things I'm not stupid on. But no. But yeah, I mean, basically, yeah. And if you don't fall into one of those other things, I would say maybe you never considered being non-binary. And I think that is something, if you are like, I don't really feel right being whatever gender you transitioned into, but you're still like but you're kind of confused because you're like, well, I really felt like I wasn't that. You should really consider non-binary identities, like for real. You really should, and because that is a legit thing. I think you know you might actually fit somewhere into that area. So that, I mean, that's just my suggestion. I don't want to overly encourage anything, but at the same time, I want that to be an option out there on the table for y'all. Now, what was my next note? Because I'm trying to stay on track and not make these things last too long. Oh yeah. So why it's not Christian ammo is just because gender identity in itself is, gender identity in general. Basically, here's the thing. If someone's like, I don't feel right as this gender that I transitioned into, that goes to prove that dysphoria is a real thing and that you probably shouldn't really be screwing around with it because, yeah, that can really, if you jump too quickly onto something, you're gonna screw yourself up really bad. And so basically, if you think, oh, these people who are detransitioning are the perfect example, that means you have to recognize gender dysphoria. So, have fun with that thought there. And overall, I would say, detransitioning is fine. And hey, I mean, if you're, like I said, with my thoughts on why it happens and also just saying you should consider non-binary options, this is me not knowing anybody specifically who has actually detransitioned, just knowing that it's a thing that happens, and also having Christians who say, hey, there are people who end up regretting it. It's like, yeah, people regret things. Surprise. I'm so shocked. So yeah, I mean, it's yeah, so I mean, like, it's like, wow, really, people regret things they do in life? Oh my god. Like, it just happens that, if you detransition, that's kind of a more controversial point. And I don't think anybody should hate anybody who is detransitioning because they think it gives Christians ammo, because honestly, that just goes to show, yeah, gender identity is a legit thing, and don't freaking play around with it. Like, seriously, dudes. My next point is going to be on, so, going back onto, if you're rushing into it, when should you start then? As I've said in another video, I recommend 6 months to start testosterone, and before having any surgeries, I highly recommend spending a year. Now, if you can resist long enough, wait till you're 25 when your brain is fully developed. I would highly recommend that. Although that's me personally, and knowing who I am, I know I could not do that. So, right now I'm 22 and I started testosterone when I was 20, I think. Yeah, 20. Yeah. I forget. So, and the first moment I can, I'm gonna get my tits off, because those are not fun. Like, even whenever I'm in a more girly mood, like, you guys, look at these fingernails, they're fabulous. Even when I'm like super ridiculously girly, I'm just like, I feel my boobs there. I'm like, like if you actually pay enough attention to my body movements, like, you will see my arms actually trying to navigate around my tits. Just like, don't touch them, don't touch them. But yeah, I mean, no, but seriously, it fucking sucks. I did not curse, I swear. No, um, you didn't hear that. I don't do editing, so sorry. um, Honestly, my channel's not all that appropriate of family kind of shit, anyways. um, in all honesty, though, I'd say, yeah. I mean, wait as long as you can. Definitely don't pass up the opportunity to transition. If it's like you have this once in a lifetime chance to actually transition and stuff like that, I'd still highly recommend wait it out as much as you can, mentally and emotionally. Um, Beyond that, I'd say now I'm going to jump into what about kids transitioning, and my thoughts on that is that, look, okay, I'm sorry, but if if honestly, if you're under 18, I would still say no. Do not like physically transition. I'm perfectly fine with you if you are like socially transitioning because you're not really doing anything to yourself. As far as puberty blockers go for male to females, I would say I have to say I'm not okay, but I can understand. And so I'd say wait a year and then go on puberty blockers or something like that. If you're already that close to puberty, I'm sorry, but that's just my thought still stands because look, those can actually kind of those can still have some um, negative side effects. But oh my god, that song! I'm sorry, I'm listening to music in the background. I'm not sure if it's actually being picked up on here, but I'm sorry. I'm gonna share this song with you guys because oh my god, this one makes me cry. Uh, Leave Out All the Rest by Linkin Park. If you don't know who Linkin Park is, I think it was Chester or something. He is like I think I don't know if he's the main singer or what. I honestly forget because I'm awful like that. But he killed himself, and like that song, kind of just is like uh, he's been kind of. It's kind of sad, honestly, and but anyways. Sorry guys, this is the second video I've made where I'm like, oh my gosh, this song. um, but yeah, I mean that song's so freaking, oh my god, it's sad when you put it into context. Like, it's just heartbreaking. Like, oh my god. But yeah, anyways, back to transitioning stuff. Did I mention I'm very distractible, you guys? Oh my god, that song's so sad though. Um, I'm sorry. This is bad. Oh, I'm awful. Okay. Anyways, on track. Maybe. But yeah, so I'd say don't transition if you're a kid. And like I'd have to say like I could kind of tolerate if you're going on testosterone at the age of 16 maybe, but even that I'm kind of gonna still be kind of pissy about. I'd still say wait till you're 18. And definitely no, do not have surgeries until, I'd have to say not even 18, but wait until after whatever puberty crap is going to happens, okay? Like, seriously. Wait out puberty. Because, I mean, for one, your body's still going to continue to do that stuff, and I'd have to say, yeah, your body is still changing. There's a lot of reasons not to do surgeries until you have completed puberty. So that's kind of my thoughts on that, and you know, so I'd have to say, and for some biological females, yeah, that usually that puberty kind of stops earlier than for guys, because like biological guys, because usually like if you're biologically male, what you're going through all these changes up until like what you're like 17 ish, maybe 16 if you're lucky, but I mean like basically anywhere from 16 to freaking 20 years old you're still crazy changing. um, but that's about the time you're still you're kind of coming to the end of your puberty ish, I think. At least that's what I've noticed. I'm not a doctor. I don't have biological facts on that, but that's just an observation. With females, once again, another observation, and being biologically female myself, you know, you don't really stop puberty. Let's see, I probably stopped like a lot of my puberty slowed down like closer to like middle school. Like so I kind of stopped kind of early. Honestly, like you could stop anywhere between like middle school and like towards the end of college. So I think it's a very individual based kind of thing. But basically, if your tits ain't getting bigger and um, and like you've grown up, and you're not really growing anymore, height wise, and you know, you've gone all through those changes, you know, uh, yeah, and vice versa, specifically for guys who are male to females, so women who trans women, um, gosh, I'm gonna start mixing up genders and sexes and stuff. um, I would say when you're on estrogen, if you are wanting, I'd say wait until puberty has kind of stopped for that, regardless of if you're getting, bottom surgery or if you're just getting tit implants. Because honestly, look, wait till you're whatever estrogen tit things you get. Um, if you, as far as like, I know like you can get your Adam's apple shaved, whatever kind of thing, which honestly kind of terrifies me. Um, that's just, I just think about that. No, that's terrifying. I don't, I don't like the idea of anything sharp close to my neck like that, like, or, um, but yeah, I mean, um, so, yeah, and I'd say for that, obviously wait till your full male puberty has gone through, but, um, other than that, say, yeah, just, be careful and be sure that's what you want. And just remember you can also just take voice lessons, and because I know there are a lot of trans females who haven't had that done and sound totally female. Um, that's coming from me, a blind person, so um, anyways, and then with female to men, I'd say, yeah, I said female to male, right? Okay. I'd say, um, wait until your testosterone has happened and basically your tits are as small as they're gonna get. Because some of that fat distribution is a thing. See how you feel with that, and then get tits removed, or at least if you're getting close to the end of that. Um, and it's usually a requirement. Um, so I for bottom surgery, wait till you have the full clit length because look, you don't want to. Plenty of reasons for that, and also that's pretty standard anyways. So, uh, you know, listen to surgeons in that regard of what they require. Um, and as far as if you're the type of person who wants to get face kind of stuff, facial surgeries done, I'd say definitely you know do that, but like wait until you know your second puberty in a sense is done doing whatever it's gonna do. That way you kind of know where you're gonna be at and where else you want to take it, basically. So yeah, and just don't do anything in an irrational state of mind. Um, I'd have to say, make your choices in a lesser dysphoric state of mind, because that is when you're going to be the most rational about it. Whereas, if you're really dysphoric, you're just going to be like, please get it off. Please, let me transition. Now, please. You're going to be, you're going to be kind of irrational. And not that should be like, oh, you shouldn't transition if when you're having dysphoria, if you're not wanting to transition. Here's the thing: is if you can't be like, what, yeah, I still want to transition, even in your lesser dysphoric modes, like, I'd say you probably should really rethink some things and reconsider things. But yeah, I mean that's basically the gist. If my computer wants to work with me, and yeah, like I said, as far as kids transitioning, I'm perfectly fine with socially transitioning, but legally, you can't really transition anyways, and I medically, and I highly recommend that. So I mean, yeah, don't make irrational decisions. Look, and kids, their minds are still changing. Be neutral with your kids, or for a suggestion for teens who are kind of looking at this, understand that you are still going through a bunch of developmental things, and that many things could change. And if your parents are super supportive, that's great, but please consider, because honestly, here's the thing: if you are not actually transgender, you do not want to be transgender. Life is much easier being cis, and that's really all I can say. And especially if you're non-binary, and that's another reason that I do think people who detransition should consider possibility of identifying as non-binary. Not that that's obviously you must be that, because that's not the case. I'm not saying that at all. I know people are gonna be like, oh my god, you're just assuming because someone's detransitioning, they're actually non-binary, you freaking SJW. Oh my god. No, that's not the case. um, I'd say just consider it, because it might actually be something that fits, and if it doesn't, doesn't. I mean, dude, that's your life, not my life. Whatever. uh, and and if you are non-binary and you're wanting to transition, I would say take even more time and be very self-aware. That is probably the most important thing in any transition, whether it's in the binaries or, non-binary identities, is you have to be self-aware. You have to know exactly what you want, how you're feeling. You really need to be self-aware, otherwise, you really do run the risk of screwing yourself up. And of course, that could be another reason for detransitioning is, sometimes at the time, people don't really know what they want. So yeah, I mean, I'd highly recommend, if you're non-binary, then think about, okay, what parts make you dysphoric? How, and if you're like, I don't know, gender fluid, gender flux, whatever, bigender, whatever. If, if you go back and forth between liking having tits and not liking having tits, like, consider which one can you tolerate more, which one could you tolerate if, which one would you be okay with being without? Because, yeah, you do kind of have to choose. Obviously, you can always bind or, add, boob fluff, whatever, but, and, if, like, hormones, like, how would you feel about that stuff? Those are really things you really should consider before. And I already made a video all about, that kind of stuff, but I have to reinforce it, is just consider what you want. And yeah, so please just take your time, and if you are detransitioning, I support you, because, dude, I don't want someone to live as something that they're not. And I mean, honestly, everybody's gonna choose to twist and turn things to make it sound in favor of what they believe in. So I mean, look, if Christians are gonna use your story to support their agenda, that's just what they're gonna do. And I mean, literally, people do that with everything. So I mean, I think it's perfectly fine to detransition, because I do think that is no one should be forced to live as the gender that they don't identify with, and that's the point of trans rights, is because we shouldn't have to live the way that, our bodies, we shouldn't have to live in bodies that just make us feel unrealistically abnormal and uncomfortable and just gross. And I'd say, for trans people who want to detransition, that's pretty much probably the same feeling. Look, I wouldn't know. I would not know at all, but, that's probably the same feeling. So, I mean, you have every damn right to detransition, as a person has the right to transition. So please, take into consideration. Hope this was informative and helpful. And thanks for watching. Now I just gotta figure out how to stop.